All right, I think we're live. Looks like we are. Okay. If you have any questions while we're going through the demonstration, go ahead and just ask, and we should be able to answer those as we go. But I am just now starting out testing these pencils. So we're going to be talking about the Derwent Lightfast. Let's see if I can do this. Hold it up for you here. The Derwent Lightfast colored pencils. They're oil-based. They came out last year towards the end of summer, I believe it was, the 36 set. And they've come out now with the 72 set pencil line and 72 count. In this little pamphlet, it gives you a little more information about what their plans are, and there's actually going to be a 100 count that will be coming out soon as well. So I can't wait for that. All right, so let me just talk to you a little bit about what we're going to do today, and then if you have any questions, just put those in the chat there. But I've got a piece of Stonehenge here and some Clairefontaine pastel mat. And I started testing just a few of these, just placing a swatch on here of the new pencils. So this does not include the original 36 set. This is only the new 36 set, which would complete the 72 count. And they do offer an option where you can just purchase the new tray of 36 count set of pencils to complete. If you had the original, you would complete the 72 set, because if you bought the original and now you're wanting to get the rest of the colors that they have in the 72 set, you can opt for that, and that's a pretty good deal. All right. One thing they did was they gave us another black in this particular set. So in the 72, the new 36 color range that they gave us, there's a new black in there, Mars Black. I don't really use black, so it really wasn't all that exciting to me, but I thought that was interesting. I don't know. There is a black, and then now there's a Mars Black. So in case, I guess, you use black a lot, maybe you need two. I don't know. Maybe in the 100 they'll have three. I don't know. But that was one I guess I could have used the set. I could have done without. So okay. So let's see here. Let me go through which ones I've tested so far. I'll tell you what they are right here. So these are the same. Let me pull this over. Okay, so this is banana, and then we've got yellow. No, I'm sorry. It's not yellow. It is mustard. And the next one is amber gold. And then we've got flame. And the next one's Derwent red and strawberry. And then we've got, let's see, this one is cherry red. And then we've got Merlot, which I really like that one. I think that's going to be a nice one. If you're a portrait artist at all, I think you may enjoy that one a whole lot because of some of the dark tones. It's kind of like a sienna sort of color. Let's see what was next. We've got, well, this is showing me that it would be dusky pink, but I don't think that is dusky pink. Let me look. No, I'm not sure which one I pulled there. Let me look here. Okay, that's deep rose. So I'm going to put dusky pink over here. I was just going in the way they placed them inside the tray. So I'm going to start this project on this portrait here in just a moment. Another really nice skin tone right here for Caucasian skin, and some other skin colorations. So here we are on Pastel Matte and on Stonehenge. I think you can see, if you can see that well enough, how nice that looks. If you'd like for me to zoom in a little bit, I could probably do that. Let me know if you have any problems viewing it, and I can zoom in there. All right. So what I did is I just made a mark, a little indication on each of the pencils to tell me if it's a new one or not in this particular set, if it's one of the new 36. So that way I could keep them separate from the original 36 that I purchased. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to put all of these on here. I think what I'll do is I'm going to select just a few, sharpen those up, and then we'll start on this project right here. Unless anyone wants to see any other colors in there, I'll go ahead and put some of those down on our test swatches here if you want to see any of the other colors. But otherwise, I'm going to select some skin tones, and then I'll sharpen those, and we'll start on this portrait. So I am going to use that dusky pink. I think I'll use this Mars Violet. I want to take a look at it, see what that looks like. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, I'll use that Mars Violet. Going to try to restrict myself to just the new ones that they came out with. Not sure I'll be able to do that, but I'm going to try. Let me see what else we got here. Okay, we have a burnt sienna, which is a new one. And so they all have an LF1 or an LF2, which is kind of exciting. So they're the highest Lightfast ranges for any colored pencil. So this is the burnt sienna right here. That's a nice color right there. And the ratings, there's a couple of different indications in the booklet if you have yours, and you can see this. Let me see here. You might be able to see it there. If I hold it up. If you look at that, they've got a rating here for the xenon arc radiation. That's one column, and then the next column is the ASTM natural daylight. And so both of those tests were performed, and then they give a rating of either 1 or 2. So all of these end up being a 1 or a 2 for light fastness. And what I noticed, it appears to me that if they scored a 1 in one of these columns and a 2 in the other one, I think if I'm right about this, it looked like the few that I looked at, that they gave it a rating of LF1. And so if it has a 2 at all in either of the columns, they gave it a rating of LF2. I'm guessing maybe that is adhering to the standard that is set by the ASTM, or they're defaulting to the lowest type of rating that they want to give it, which it's still an extremely high rating, so we can't be upset about that. That's really a great rating. Well, hi, Teresa. Hi, Peggy. Awesome. So Peggy's someone I know in real life. I love it when that happens. Cool. Okay. So let me see here where to stick my drink. There we go. All right. So I'm going to sharpen these up. Get these ready here. And what I usually do when I'm doing a portrait is I usually start in the darkest areas first. And so wherever there's a shadow, wherever there is any kind of dark area at all, then that's the area I start in. And I usually start with the darkest pencil. That's typically what I do. So if I'm going to just limit myself at the moment for this particular stage in the process to these three colors, then I'm going to use this darkest color here, which is at Mars Violet. So it's sort of a real deep taupe, which is more on the red side than anything else. And so I'm using pastel matte, the white pastel matte. And I think you see our reference over here. I'm going to move this over, maybe put it over here. Hey, we've got several more joining. Brenda's here. Looks like Christine and Gail. Awesome. Someone from Alabama. Cool. So, get a little more definition up here. Might have gone a little bit dark there on that one spot. Yeah, probably did. So I can go ahead and remove that a little bit. So we've actually got some people in here that are currently taking Face Value, the Ultimate Color Pencil Portrait course. Awesome. I'm glad that you're able to join. And that course is open for another, I think, 9 days. It'll close on the 22nd. So it's not going to be open much longer, but it will open again in 2020 at some point. Just not sure when. Okay. Get a little more. The one thing about these oil-based pencils, they're very, very creamy, very smooth. And when you're using it on a pastel matte, it just sort of grabs the pencil, grabs the pigment, and forces you to put it on the paper. It's so nice. I mean, it doesn't take much to get total saturation. Okay, just suggesting some of the darker details up in here. I don't have to be exact about that at the moment. Let's see here. So get some indication of where the eyelashes are. This will be one of those times that I can use one of those two blacks if I choose to do that. I wonder what I should do. Should I use the Mars black or the black? There's not much difference really. So my dad's name was Milford. That's hilarious, Gail. What's the difference between pastel matte and watercolor paper? Pastel matte is a non-absorbent surface. So it's a very rigid surface. It actually has, it's closely akin to sanded paper. So if you've used Fisher 400 or UArt pastel paper, then it's similar to that, except it feels smooth. I don't know. It's a weird kind of paper. I really like it. I'm really enjoying it lately. Watercolor paper, on the other hand, is Typically, if we're talking about a typical watercolor paper, we're talking about 140-pound cotton paper that is very thick and has sizing on it typically, so it's primed for watercolor nowadays. And it is an absorbent surface, except for that sizing does help with protecting, some of the media. Sounds exciting. Oh, Angel, good to see you. Angel's on. Awesome. All right. Let's see. Hey, we've got a lot more joining here. Hi, Eileen. How are you? Carla, Joanne. Awesome. Okay. Get some of that indication of where that fold in the upper eyelid is. When I took these references, so this is Vanessa, is who this is. That's her name. And when I took these references, I thought I was, in focus, and I get them back and I start looking at them all blown up. And most of them were in focus, but this was the pose that I loved the most. And when I started looking at this pose, this was like one of only 3 that were in focus. The rest of them, like 20 or so, were out of focus. I don't know how that happened either. So odd. But that happens to me from time to time. All right. And with an initial layer like this, it's not going to matter a whole lot what you do. I mean, it will matter to the extent that you've got something down and that you're fairly accurate with the drawing piece of it. But as far as color, that's not going to matter a whole lot. I often will see new artists get just stuck color testing and color swatching and go on and on with trying different color combinations before they even start drawing at all, before they ever start putting an initial layer down. And honestly, it just doesn't matter that much with your initial layer. You can choose a dark-ish color, and then you can modify the way that color presents itself after you start going on the project and you start adding more colors to it later on. It's not going to matter that much at the beginning. So I used to get real worked up about that and think that it mattered a whole lot what my initial color was going to be. But as long as I choose something dark and then I am careful about how I'm drawing, because those values is what I'm really after. So this is more like the Grizzly method. And I'm looking for this roadmap. I'm trying to establish where these dark areas are and get those established pretty early on. All right, let's see here. Hey, cool, Teresa. I've got my tea also. I learned that I need a lid anymore. If I don't have a lid, let's just put it this way, I've had dangerous things happen around my artwork. Okay, let's see here. So those are the dark areas. This area over here is darker. So I can start in right here, add a little suggestion of where that separation in the lips might be. Right in here and over on the edge. And the nostrils obviously are going to be pretty dark. See, that's the thing also with pastel matte. Sometimes your pencil will just grab it, and unless you have it taped down or something, and I'm not taping this down. I could, but I might later on. But it can just grab your project, and because it kind of sticks. It has this quality about it that that real thick tooth that it will just grab it and hold it. So even in these areas where I'm creating shadows, if at all possible, then I want to extend those shadows a little bit and keep a sharp point on my pencil. I need to sharpen that. But if I extend those shadows a little bit more and taper the area where that shadow may be going, then what I've done is I have added a little more dimension and context for this area that I'm drawing. Okay, and then I'm tempted to go in here and start messing around a little bit with the filtrum, and I could suggest it just a little bit, that it's right in here. And then I don't want to get too caught up in that. I can move along, because if I do, I may stop there and linger there, and I don't want to really necessarily do that. Okay, put some of this bottom eyelid in here. There we go. And over on this side. Now that's something, if you're new to portraits, that you can nearly always get away with when we're talking about Western culture, Caucasian, and a lot of other people groups. But, you know, that would vary some depending on what type of person you're drawing. But you can always get away with adding a little more, a little extension with the top eyelid down past the bottom eyelid, just a little bit. That's something you can always, nearly always do. Now I'm noticing up here, this is a little bit different than what I sketched out. So I need to correct that. Okay, so if you're just joining, I am using only the next set of 36 pencils that were in the 72 count of the Derwent Lightfast pencil range, that new Derwent pencil line called Lightfast. Teresa's asking, where do you buy your pastel matte? I think I got it online, probably at Blick. That's usually where I buy most of my things, or Amazon. And what I got was, drop my pencil. Here we go. What I got was the this pad right here. So it comes in 4 different color selections. I really like this. And let's see, can I read this without my glasses? No. It's 7 by 9.5 inches is what they are. So I like that size, especially if you're new to a particular type of paper. You can just test it very quickly on something a little smaller like this. That fold in the in that crease there in the upper eyelid really says a lot about who the person is. So we want to make sure we get that accurate. It's about as much as I probably want to do to that upper crease there. Okay, can probably work. Let's see, figure out. Probably establish some of the hairline. And the other nice thing about pastel matte, just like with sanded paper, is that you can You can go over dark areas with lighter pencils, and it will show up. So that is a nice advantage that this particular paper has when you compare it to Stonehenge or something that is cotton or more of an absorbent surface. Then you're going to have more difficulty getting that back to a lighter color on top of something darker. Let's see here. So this actually goes in a little bit more, looks like. That shape of the... After you start looking at it, you start noticing all the variations in what I've actually done here. The shape of the chin is not quite right. I think it goes more like this, and then this part comes down right in here, I believe. A little bit more right there. And too much of a little bit of a divot right there. I don't want that. Okay. So we've got a pretty nice shadow going on over here. Somewhere over here. I'm not sure where that is yet, but I can suggest a little bit of it right there. Can do the same on the other side. And actually, I think I'm going to turn it so that my stroke makes a little more sense. And I don't know where it is exactly, and so I'm going to just stick it in here a little bit, just suggest it a little bit to have somewhat of a border to the face. There we go. I don't want to leave it in that orientation. And most of the time, if I ever reorientate my paper, then I'm going to do the same thing with the reference. It can cause you problems if you don't do that. But I knew what I was doing there. Just very quickly get something on that side. Okay. Not going to do a whole lot with those eyebrows because there is some skin showing through, and we want to make sure that we're able to still capture some of the skin inside there. Okay, so what we could do is, and I think I will, it's not bad for an initial layer. We can go through the rest of these pencils. I think that might be a fun thing to do. Okay. Would work more on... Well, let's go ahead and do these eyes, then we'll look at the rest of these pencils. Just establish where this is. There we go. Now with pastel matte, you can add so many layers. You can just keep layering and layering. You have to sharpen your pencil quite a bit on pastel matte. Gail's asking, just curious, are you using southpaw or is the camera reversed? I don't know what southpaw is. Maybe you can tell me what that is. No, I'm reversing the camera. So I'm using, is that a technology that I guess I'm not familiar with, but I'm using Restream and what I did and OBS. And so what I did in OBS was I told it to reverse the camera, and I'm streaming from an AX33 video camera. And so then I inverted it vertically is what I did. Oh, left hand. Okay, that's right. Some reason my mind just went to a technology because it took me a while to figure out what I needed to do. Southpaw, like, is that a southpaw technology? Is it Something I need to be familiar with? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, I'm right-handed. Yeah, it reverses it, and it makes it look like I'm left-handed, which is so odd. I don't know why it does that. So one thing we can do also, I mean, this is sort of like a grisaille method. That's kind of the way I go through portraits most of the time. It just makes it easy. I don't do it because it's, I don't know, something that I just necessarily like to do, although I do like doing it. But I do it because it's easier. It just makes it more simple. I'm all about making something more simple and saving time in the process. And so if you go through and establish where the values are, and you're not saying a whole lot about the values, all you're saying about the values is that you're in shadow and you're not, you know. So if you're shading something, you're just saying there's a shadow here. You're not saying how dark that shadow is. You're not saying how light it is. You're just saying there's a shadow. That's all. And then when you go back through and you're starting to redefine everything with color or with a second layer, then at that point you're starting to, got that a little dark, started talking. At that point, then you're starting to make a determination on the value of that shadow. So you're saying, okay, is this shadow going to be, you know, between if you think of a value scale from 1 to 10, is this shadow going to be, you know, a 6 or 7, 8, or 9 or 10? Certainly the pupil is going to be a 10 where it's not reflecting light. But pastel matte, I can keep layering and layering, and so I don't have to worry about, you know, thinking about putting on too much for the most part. I can just keep layering it and putting on as much as I want, because I can always go back and add more and add the value that I want, you know, later on. So that little area of skin where the upper eyelid goes over the bottom right here at the corner, I can create a little bit of a shadow there as well. Okay, you want to use a really light touch. For those of you who are in the portrait course or have taken any of the portrait smaller classes from me or anything like that, then you'll know what I'm talking about with this band around the eye. And right here, you don't see it a whole lot, but you do on this eye. You see it a little bit up in the top there. And so I can sort of highlight that a little bit. I can capitalize on that piece of it. And let's see. I don't see it over here. What I do see is a really nice little highlight right there. I just noticed that. And that'll be nice to make sure that I capture and get that in there. Okay. So this is actually going to be a lot darker, and that'll help with that area that I started drawing too dark in accidentally. Okay. So there we go. All right, let's move back over and take a look at some more of these pencils. And see if I can get these set. And we'll add a little solvent as well. But I think what I'll do is I'll skip over to the blues. So Gail's asking, if you were needing to erase using these pencils and paper, what method would you use? Well, right now I'm using just museum putty is what I'm using. So you can, on this particular paper, on pastel matte, you can erase very similar to what you would with regular paper. And, you know, if you notice, I mean, that comes off pretty easily right now. But I also use a very light touch, and I haven't used any solvent. So, you're pretty safe in being able to erase with a kneaded eraser or sticky putty. And then if things get too difficult, you can get Scotch tape or whatever. I've also got the Tombow mono erasers as well that I could use if I needed to. Grab me a drink here. All right. So yeah, let me skip over to the blues. The last time that they came out with the 36 set, there wasn't a whole lot of options for blues. So there's some of the browns and the grays. And let's see if I get these in here inside the frame. There we go. So there's some of the blue colors right there. And the ones inside the new set of the 36, let me see if I can point those out. Oh, this one doesn't want to turn on me. There we go. Okay. And that's an old one. This is from the original 36 right there. So let's see what we got here. So with the blues, we've got, well, that's a purple. Let's see. So we've got deep blue, and we've got sapphire right next to it. And then we've got denim and mid blue and midnight blue. So those are all new, if I understood that correctly, if I looked at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the pamphlet correctly. So I've got 5 blue new colors in here, which is really nice, because I think last time all they had was the ultramarine, which was very difficult to do anything with. That was it. That's all they had. All right. So, and I don't know. I'd have to look at the pamphlet to see if they've got anything for the 100 set, any kind of new blues in there. Okay, I'm just going to grab all of these. And so the ultramarine was the lighter blue, mid ultramarine. So this was included in the original set. That's what it looks like. So now we've got sapphire. I'm just going to, I guess I'll go in this direction. And I'm going to try to go with the next lightest color here. Let me see what we got. Well, let's do this. Let's go with denim. That denim? Yeah, that's denim. Well, that's a very dark denim. It's very dark. Okay. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit. Oh, that's a little much. Okay. How's that? That might work a little bit better. Okay, let's see. So that was denim and sapphire. So now we've got, let's do mid blue 70%. So here's mid blue 70%. Wow, to me that looks more like what a denim would be. Okay. And then we've got midnight blue. I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom out just a little bit. I'm loving these colors, though. These are nice. There's the midnight blue. I really like that one. And then we've got a deep blue. Oh, that's more violet. That's got a little more red in it. There we go. Yeah, those are nice. I really like those. You know, I'm not so worried about there being a whole lot of dark colors. I actually kind of like a lot of dark colored pencil colors. That's never something that bothers me, because you can mix your colors. You know, you can create other colors that you want by mixing those together. So I don't know what you guys think about those, but I really like them. I think those are nice. We do have some lighter colors. So if you go light and you go dark, then you can mix quite a bit and get some pretty nice colors. The problem I have is some of the yellows are just so similar to each other. There's just not a whole lot of difference in, you know, some of the yellows, and I don't know, that's just not something that, you know, I'm thinking constantly, oh, I wish I had another yellow that was just slightly different than this one, slightly lighter or slightly darker. You know, that just, I just can't think of the last time that I ever thought that. So let me grab some of these lighter colors. Let's take a look at those. I've got some black paper here. I don't know if it'll really show up on this black paper. If I use the anthracite black from Pastel Matte, that might show up. We should probably just do that. Okay, I want to make sure I'm getting the new ones here. Let me see. There's Light Aqua was one of the new ones. So we don't actually have a lot of the lighter ones in the new set. I think you can see that pretty well. See, I think this shows up really nicely because of the consistency and just the richness of the pigment in this particular set of pencils. So here's an Arctic from the first set. And then we've got Oyster from the first set. This is one of the things I was a little bit disappointed in the first set. There's not much difference in Arctic and in Oyster. If you look at that, there's just not much difference at all. So that I guess that's my point, is that, you know, how many light shades do we need? Well, I mean, I don't mind this particular one. I kind of like this Light Aqua is kind of a cool looking color. You know, and this isn't bad, just having three, but when you've got a 36 set and you've got a white and you've got an Oyster and you've got this Arctic, it's, you know, there's just not, there wasn't that big of a difference in those. But I kind of like this new color here, this Light Aqua. It's kind of nice. All right, so let me add a little solvent to some of these swatches here. We'll see what that does. I'm using Gamsol. Really nice. I'm going to go on this Stonehenge here. Now the Stonehenge will just absorb it a lot quicker than the Pastel Matte will. pastel matte will just sort of spread it out. The Stonehenge will just keep it right in place there for the most part. Okay, let me clean that off just a second. All right, let's go with this orange color. I used way too much that time. It bled everywhere. You would think that I just left a lot of yellow on my brush, but I didn't. A lot of yellow was showing through. That is interesting. That was pretty clean when I used it. That spread out a lot, though. Do the same thing down here on the Stonehenge. Yeah, that's interesting. I see more of the yellow color in that one. And that one was amber gold is the name of that color. That's an interesting color. Really kind of like that. Let's go with this one. This one's flame. I need more solvent here. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, if you're using solvent, pastel matte is a very nice support to use. Just because of the way that it handles the pigment. Once it's dissolved, it sticks around because it's not just absorbing into the paper unless you get a lot of layers down on cotton paper. You can do something similar with it, but it spreads out easier very early on in the layering process when you're using a paper like pastel matte, because of it having that rigid surface, and it will not absorb the OMS, so it's kind of nice. All right, I think we get the idea. I'm going to skip over some of the darker areas I put too much on and go over here to that pink color. It's so nice. That's going to be a good one for some skin tones. There we go. This last one over here, see what that does. Okay, I did stick that over here, didn't I? And then I forgot about it. So let it dry a little bit, I guess. That's what I did. There we go. That's such a nice color, too. Wow. They sort of feel a lot like polychromos when you're using them, as opposed to luminance pencils. See what this does. That was a very light layer right there, so I'm not going to get a whole lot of mileage out of that. Just going to add it to some of these blues. I'm mixing these a little bit, but that's so nice. I'm going to clean that off and use that last one there. This is the deep blue. Oh, that's a nice color. That is so nice. You can see it a lot easier when you're actually putting the solvent on there. See that color spread out a little bit. Very nice. Love that. See what this one looks like. Oh, it's so good. Huh. Well, there you have it. That's just sort of a first impression of the next set of colors. And, I'll continue working on this portrait, but I'm probably going to go ahead and stop the live stream unless anyone has any particular questions about anything. If you haven't ordered your set yet, I mean, you don't have to order the 72 like I was mentioning earlier. You can order just the new set of 36, the 36 tray, and get that shipped to you. If you ordered the first set, then there wouldn't be any need to grab all of them again. I went ahead and did that, but I mean, you don't have to do that, is my point. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the live stream. Thanks for joining today. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys next time.